On Story is brought to you in part by the Alice Clayburgh Reynolds Foundation, a Texas family providing innovative funding since 1979. On Story, presented by Austin Film Festival, a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers and directors. In this week's On Story, Bridesmaids writer-director Paul Feig, Rachel Getting Married screenwriter Jenny Lumet, and The Devil Wears Prada writer Aileen Brosh McKenna. This episode, our writers discuss how the most impressionable characters are compelling because of their flaws, complexities, and personal truths.
I think any character you shine the light on and make the lead of something becomes a hero. I know there's a few things against that, but I personally like underdogs, but I find underdogs to be the heroes, and so I've never kind of. It's funny, even a couple nights ago, I finally watched The Avengers, which is great, but I don't relate to those movies because I have a hard time with superheroes because they seem so invincible, and even when they're having a hard time, it's not that hard. They can still have a bus dropped on them and get up somehow. And I guess for me, the heroes are just people in everyday life who you don't notice when you walk past them on the street, but if you look into their lives, you get compelled by what they're going through and get drawn in. So for me, that's what the heroes I like to write about.
I think of people making choices, and I think of people really believing what they're saying. And I think it's very possible for every character to be telling the truth at every single moment, and for those things to be completely contradictory.
One of the things that I think of is when you're working on a script is you want to look at every character as if in the movie where that character is the lead. So each major characters, and even the minor ones, has their own point of view on what the story means to them. And one way to kind of refine characters is to think, okay, if this guy was the lead in this movie, what would his story be? That's one way I think about that. And the other thing about a hero is you can define them by what opposes them. And sometimes what opposes them is a person, and sometimes what opposes them is a force or a society or something. So that's one way to construct, I think, a character that you can root for, which ultimately is what a hero is, I think.
A lead character just becomes somebody who you root for. I mean, Bridesmaids was interesting because, Kristen wrote that script, and at first we had a hard time trying to figure out how to do it because it's not a character making very good choices, and it's really somebody on a downward trajectory, but they're still a hero because what we did was, like, by seeing that she had a business at one point. You see a picture of her on the wall where she's in front of the grand opening. She looks great and strong and healthy, and now you meet her at her lowest point. And so that's a hero where you're like, oh, I want you to be that person that you were. And so it's almost like rebuilding the hero.
When we were making 27 Dresses, it took 5 years to get it made. One of the huge problems that we had was people were saying, she's a loser, she's pathetic. In the development process, people always wanted to make her, she's super sexy, she's a winner, she's a something. So I had my own, personal feelings of joy and slight vindication in seeing Bridesmaids. She's so flawed, she's making so many mistakes. And one of the great, I thought, writing moments, directing moments, acting moments of that year was the moment where you as an audience are starting to get irritated with her, and Melissa shows up and says, you're awful, and you're not being a good friend.
Here's a friend standing directly in front of you trying to talk to you, and you choose to talk about the fact that you don't have any friends.
You know what I mean?
No, I don't think you want any help.
That's
I think you
not
want to have a
true.
little pity party.
No.
Yeah, I think Annie wants a little pity party. Is that what you...
Ow!
You're Annie.
Oh my God!
The fact that she was so flawed and continues to be flawed and continues to make bad choices, I think that movie really changed the landscape for what is doable.
It's the same reason why I like comedy that has drama in it and all that. It's, you know, life is not all hilarious, life is not all tragic. You know, tragedy happens and you're laughing at the same moment. Most people, you know, it's like all of us. We've got people who love us and then people who hate our guts. And it almost kind of doesn't mix over because people know different sides of us depending what our circumstances are. It's like you're friends with somebody, then you go, well, let's work together. And you see, my God, what's this monster? That's who you are when you work. And it's like, but those are the different kind of hats we have to wear. And that's why I think the best characters have to have all those sides.
People do talk a lot about being likable. That's a huge part of the process. People talk about it all the time. And I think there is this difference between being likable. You can be likable and be flawed, but you really just want to be with the characters. You want to feel like you're on their side, even if they're not making great choices.
Well, if we're talking about anti-heroes, movie geek favorite movie, all the Godfather, well, not the three, but 1 and 2, right? Don Vito Corleone, thugs, murderers, psychopaths, wife beaters, cowards, yet they are worshipped and revered. And I challenge anyone in this room to say that Don Corleone is not a hero. And he is. Sonny, adulterer, I don't remember if he was a rapist or not. I mean, everything bad. And these guys are revered as heroes because I think they followed their own internal code and they constantly had to battle themselves. I don't think that anybody on this stage would be interested in a hero like Hercules, unless you know that Hercules, he did all his great acts as acts of penance. He went insane and killed his own wife and kid. He had to do all that stuff to atone. I think that makes the story so much better than the strongest guy in the world doing. If you overcome and come back to your original self, even if you are a Corleone, the audience loves you.
A great example of that is in Sideways, which is a movie I love, where you're kind of getting to like him, and you think he's sort of the lovable loser that you're going to root for, and then he steals money from his mother. That's what made me think of it. He steals money from his mother, and somehow it makes you love him more because there's something so pathetic about that. You really understand the depths of his life at that point.
It's that side. It's what they always say about, like, Dante's Inferno. You know, the devil's much more interesting than whoever the hero is.
If we can talk about Othello for a second. So there's Othello and there's Iago. Iago is one of the greatest villains in literature because he never says why. His last line is, "I will speak no more." Could you say that Iago is a hero because he is so committed and will die without a word for his cause, whatever his cause may be? Is that heroic? I mean, isn't that what Mel Gibson did in The Patriot, except he didn't die because he's Mel Gibson?
But the terms hero and villain, you don't hear. In fact, you hear bad guy more than you hear villain. And constructing a great bad guy is, all unto itself.
I think that there's the anti-hero enjoys a great liberty.
In Hollywood, what's ironic is television is much more ahead of the game these days because television is all anti-heroes. The best shows, Breaking Bad. I mean,
Mad Men.
Yeah, I mean, these are all these characters. Watch, all of them are lying endlessly to their wives, lying to I mean, it's like sociopathic, but it's so compelling. Yeah, and I can't help but root for Walter White. Like, I just get so caught up in his story, and I'm like, make more meth, take down those. And I don't know why. I don't like that world, but to watch it, you know, it's a window into stuff.
Sopranos, you know, arguably one of the great, you know, achievements in any kind of storytelling with a, you know, not very likable hero. And, you know, but I think in a movie, you might not feel like you had enough time or had a mediated enough experience of Tony to, you know, it might not have worked as well.
Right.
And I'm not totally sure why that is, but it is an interesting difference that movies don't reach for that as frequently.
I'm sort of most led in my writing by this little quote that George Bernard Shaw said, which is "all men mean well," and I think that's what's most compelling. Is nobody, you know, I mean, I thought of an anti-hero, Scarface. You know, that's a guy who means well. He's got a reason why he's doing this stuff, and it's not just like mustachio twirling. You know, I'm going to be evil, and we, as audience members, find that really compelling. Because we can relate on various levels. We have minor versions of that in our life.
So he came on a boat in a raft, right? And he was in prison with his best boyhood friend. And he would literally kill for his sister. And what he wanted was what you see on TV. That's what you want when you're a little kid. And you're so far away from that. And you see this beautiful, shiny America stuff. And that kid went through all that and was probably the most wide-eyed, enthusiastic, oh, I want that. I want that. And it was probably beautiful at one point. And that performance, I thought, was so heartbreaking because he just got it wrong.
But the core of his dream was something we could relate to.
The core of his dream was the shiny. He wanted Michelle Pfeiffer, and she was this American. I mean, that face, that incredible face, and that hair, and the way she looked.
What's your name?
What?
What's your name? As driver of what?
Hancock.
What?
Hancock.
Hancock?
And you look at her and you say, this is what will complete me and fulfill me, except for the fact that she's a coke addict who can't have a baby and she's kind of a hooker. And he bought her because he thought that she would fix it.
I didn't know you were so sensitive about your diplomatic status.
Hey, coño, man, what is your problem, baby? Haven't you got a problem? But you're good looking, you got a beautiful body, beautiful legs, a beautiful face, man. All these guys in love with you, man. All you got a look in your eye like you haven't been in a year.
Hey, Jose. Who I win and how I is none of your business, okay?
Now you're talking to me, baby. That I like, okay? Keep it
In the 70s, it was just, you know, was so in to have an anti-hero, to have somebody who was so flawed, that even the movies, it's so interesting to look back at sort of even a really pedestrian movies from the 70s will try and do something interesting with its lead because that was just what was happening was, you know, it was going to be Midnight Cowboy, it was, you know, all these movies that we're talking about from the 70s. Right, it was sort of de rigueur in a funny way to make the character flawed and messed up. And then, you know, then you look at an era when Pretty Woman comes out, and the lengths that they go to make her prostituteness not in your face and adorable. Right. And,
she won't kiss.
And I think there's a little bit of a swing back around now towards. I mean, I'm thinking about the movies that are coming out right now, like Argo and Flight and Silver Linings. That I think, you know, there's a little bit of a swing back towards having leads that are a little bit more flawed and bumpy and so I think there's a little bit of, as you said, it goes with the zeitgeist.
Tobey Maguire gives an insane performance as a vet, an Afghani vet returning, brothers. And while he was overseas, he was captured, and they said, "We'll let you go if you beat your comrade to death with a pole." And he beat his comrade to death with a pole, and he got to go home. And Natalie Portman is there, and she's been a good and faithful wife, but she's a human, and she hasn't been perfect. And he's returned, and he's flawed, and he's broken, and he's on meds because and he says, "Do you know what I did to get back to you, you..."
You know what I did to get back to you?
No.
You know what I did? The get back to you! You know what?
You sell your soul to the devil for it, it better be real. Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, he crawled with his broken leg out of the hole through the desert, and he ended up with the house with the bowling alley. And what did he have to do? How many of us, first of all, why do we relate to him? Because how many of us in any moment thought, you know, I gave, and it's not real. And I feel like that's what Tony Montana's, do you know what I did to get here? And it's not real? She's a whore. I can't have kids with her. I'm a Catholic. I can't have kids with her. The money's not real. It's not filling. I have a pile of coke on my desk. I don't care. It's not real. And he sold his soul to the devil and killed people for it. And now it's not real. Like, that's heartbreaking. That's opera.
Hi, my name is Will Shipley, and I'm the writer and director of the short film MENTIROSO. I always liked the stories that were heartwarming and coming-of-age stories, and so because of that, I just kind of naturally drifted toward this. When you used to see a nude photograph of a woman, it used to be a story. It used to be something that was experienced. It was romanticized. The most difficult part about making MENTIROSO was easily trying to make it look like Mexico. We shot in San Antonio, Texas, and we had to cast 7 or 8 kids that spoke Spanish and that looked like they were from Mexico. Okay, so coming up is my short film, MENTIROSO. I thank you in advance for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Take care.
Voy a contarles una historia. Una historia de cuando yo era niño y vivía en un pequeño pueblo en México. Una historia que nunca olvidaré. Una historia que empezó en un juego de fútbol. Estaba esperando que alguien pateara el balón cuando la vi. Su nombre era Marisela y era la niña más bonita del pueblo.
Mauricio. Mauricio.
Ustedes disculpen, no me he presentado. Ese soy yo. Mi nombre es Mauricio. Todos en el pueblo me llaman Mauricio el Mentiroso.
Oye, ¿cuál es tu problema?
Tú eres mi problema. No estás poniendo atención. En cambio, estás soñando con algo que nunca vas a tener.
Y este es Javi, el buscapleitos del pueblo.
Lo podría tener si quisiera. La he visto desnuda.
Ajá. Nunca antes la he visto desnuda.
Claro que sí. Vive detrás de mi casa y la veo bañarse todos los días.
Ajá. Estás mintiendo. Si fuera así, demuéstrame.
¿Cómo?
Enséñamela.
No, no puedo.
¿Por qué no?
Porque mi papá dice que eres un ladrón y no eres bienvenido en mi casa.
La verdad es que estaba mintiendo. Mi padre nunca dijo eso.
Pues mi padre dice que tú eres un sucio mentiroso. Estás mintiendo en este momento sobre ver a esa mujer desnuda.
Pues mi papá es un fotógrafo y con su cámara le tomaron una foto y te la traigo mañana.
Muy bien. Pero si no tienes esa foto, te puedo golpear en la cara.
Y si tengo la foto, yo seré el que te pego a ti.
Muy bien.
Te
dije, es un mentiroso.
De acuerdo, lo admito, no tenía la foto al siguiente día. Pero no era un mentiroso. Bueno, No exactamente, pero nos estamos adelantando. Déjenme explicarles. Vamos a retomar donde nos quedamos.
Muy bien. Mauricio, si mañana no te apareces, te encontraré.
Más tarde aquel día, en el patio de mi casa, me encontré una flor. La reconocí inmediatamente. Era de Marisela. Así que corrí hacia ella para decirle que se le había caído. Estaba sorprendida y dijo que yo era un niño muy lindo. El momento se había ido. Verán, la verdad es que ella sí vivía detrás de mi casa, pero mentí. Nunca la había visto a ella ni a otra mujer desnuda. Y pronto todos iban a saberlo. Sabía que tenía que conseguir esa foto e iba a necesitar la cámara de mi papá. También sabía que Marisela tomaba un baño todos los días en la parte de arriba a la misma hora. El seguro de la puerta del baño estaba roto. Y mi plan era abrir rápidamente la cortina y tomar la foto. Pero entonces algo me detuvo. Y entré en razón.
¿A dónde crees que vas? Voltéate. ¿Le ocurre algo malo a tu cámara?
No.
¿Quieres tomar una foto?
Sí.
Te dejaré tomar una foto bajo una condición. Tienes que prometer que no se la enseñarás a nadie. ¿Lo prometes?
Sí, lo prometo.
Está bien. Será mejor que la tomes ya porque está haciendo frío.
No podía creer lo que estaba pasando. Estaba nervioso. La cámara se sentía pesada. Se tomó un momento para posar. Y así, súbitamente, tenía un pedazo del cielo. Y recuerdo haberme dicho a mí mismo, gracias, Dios mío.
¿Ya la tomaste?
Sí.
Bien. Ahora vete.
Después me sentía increíble. Pero el sentimiento no iba a durar. Sabía que tenía un dilema. E iba a tener que mentirle a alguien. No fue sino hasta que estaba revelando la foto, de la forma en que mi padre me enseñó, que supe lo que iba a tener que hacer.
Preciosa.
Te dije, es un mentiroso. Vamos, dejemos llorar a este mentiroso solo.
Quedé tirado en el suelo llorando por un momento. Pero entonces vi a Marisela y ella me sonrió. Y de pronto me di cuenta que ella sabía todo y que ella confiaba en mí. Y fue entonces cuando pensé, ¿saben? Puede que sea un mentiroso, pero soy un mentiroso con una hermosísima foto. Y aún la conservo hasta hoy.